It was a quiet night in Bavaria, March 31st, 1922. The Hinterkaifeck farm, an isolated homestead nestled deep in the cold German countryside, stood under the pale moonlight. Inside, 6 people lay sleeping, unaware that something, or someone, was already inside their home. The crime that unfolded here would become one of the most gruesome and baffling mysteries in history. A family, Andreas Gruber, his wife Cecilia, their widowed daughter Victoria, her 2 children, and the newly hired maid Maria, were slaughtered, one by one, lured into the barn, their skulls shattered by a mattock, a brutal farming tool designed to break hardened soil. Their deaths were not swift. Victoria had deep wounds that suggested she had attempted to shield herself, her fingers almost severed from desperation. Cecilia, just 7 years old, was found with her fists full of her own torn-out hair, evidence that she had survived the initial blows, writhing in agony for hours before succumbing. The killer was meticulous. There was no frenzied slaughter. This was methodical, controlled, almost calculated. When investigators arrived days later, they found something even more chilling than the murders themselves. The bodies had been covered neatly with hay. The livestock had been fed. Smoke had risen from the farmhouse chimney for days after the killings. Neighbors had seen the glow of lanterns at night, moving from room to room. Someone had lived there. The signs had been there, lingering in the shadows before the massacre. Footprints in the snow led to the house, but none led away. Mysterious noises had echoed from the attic, scratching, shuffling, breathing. A newspaper appeared in the home that no one in the family had bought. And the previous maid? She had fled months earlier, claiming the farm was haunted. Maybe she was right. Andreas Gruber had confided in neighbors about the strange occurrences. The attic noises, missing items, mysterious footprints, a house key that had vanished only to reappear days later. No one believed him. He was a bitter man, cruel to his own family. If the house was haunted, perhaps it was haunted by something of his own making. The police searched for answers, but none came. No money was stolen. No suspect was ever caught. Over 100 people were questioned, yet the case remained unsolved. Victoria had a dark past, a secret lover, rumors of incest, a possible blackmailer. Was the killer someone from her past? A vengeful ex-lover, a spurned man seeking retribution? Or was it a deranged drifter, a phantom who had stalked the farm, watching, waiting? Some believe the killer was someone they knew, a person who could enter the house unnoticed, someone who took pleasure in the fear, the control. Someone who watched as Cecilia bled out on the hay, gasping for breath in the thick silence of that barn. The case itself remains one of the most well-documented unsolved murders in Germany's history. The initial investigation was deeply flawed. Evidence was tampered with, and the bodies were even beheaded before being sent for autopsy. The skulls of the victims were later lost during World War II, leaving many details of the crime permanently obscured. One prevailing theory pointed toward Victoria's alleged affair with Lorenz Schlittenbauer, a local farmer and neighbor. Some believe he fathered her son, Josef, and was enraged by either a demand for child support or the possibility that Josef was the result of incest between Victoria and her father, Andreas. Schlittenbauer himself was one of the first to discover the bodies, but his behavior was suspicious. He entered the crime scene freely, disturbing evidence, and claimed he was searching for his son. His actions led many to speculate that he was involved, but nothing could ever be proven. Another chilling theory suggests that the killer was a transient, possibly a war veteran suffering from trauma, wandering through the countryside in search of shelter and sustenance. This would explain why the killer stayed on the farm after the murders, tending to the animals and eating the family's food. But why massacre an entire household with such brutality? To this day, forensic experts and criminologists continue to speculate on the case. DNA testing has been suggested, but is impossible without the missing skulls. A cold case team reviewed the evidence in 2007 and named a suspect whose identity remains undisclosed, but with so much time passed, the truth will likely never be confirmed. The house itself was demolished in 1923, 1 year after the crime. Nothing remains of Hinterkaifeck but an empty field, a memorial stone, and the ghosts of the past. But the land remembers. The wind that passes through those desolate fields carries the echoes of screams long forgotten. What happened that night on Hinterkaifeck farm? Who had stalked the family? Who had waited in the shadows, moving above them, breathing the same air, walking the same floors? The truth? The truth is buried in that lonely Bavarian soil, along with the 6 souls who never saw the horror coming. And somewhere in the cold wind that whispers through the ruins of Hinterkaifeck, the echoes of that nightmare still linger.